We are going to continue with our discussions, our deeper look at our favorite Vacation Bible School stories. We've done, let's see, what have we done? Meshach and Abednego. We've done Zacchaeus, wee little man, and this is one of the big ones, Daniel and the Lion's Den. I don't know if you got to see the graphic coming in the door. I don't know how old that is, but that's the one that catches my memory of the cute little lions, and Daniel's about 18 and everybody's happy ending. And that's what we've told our kids. That's the one. I mean, I'm not taking away from it because this is what's in all of the Bibles, but there is more to the story than what we get out of our Sunday school or children's stories about Daniel. In fact, David and Goliath is coming up. Maybe Samson and Delilah. All cute stories, Noah's Ark, and all those things we're going to take. And there's a deep grown up. And you guys, I don't know if you realize it or not, but you're grown ups. It's time to accept that responsibility. We're adulting now, and we're embracing it. That's who we are. And the message is, David didn't pick up the stone and say, you know what? If I hit him, I'll bet that'll be a good children's story one day. And neither did Daniel go through what he did. In fact, we find out as today we're going to look at what direct message this has for us. And I don't think I talked to Alex about it, but knowing the end of the story is a big deal. And I've been a lifelong Steeler fan, and now Aaron Rodgers plays for Steelers. And usually I just watch the game and I cheer. I couldn't this last year. I mean, I don't know why, but I get so emotional about football. And that hasn't been part of my life, but I couldn't watch the game. And most of the time I couldn't because I work on Sundays. But if I would go and check the head, and if they won, then I'd sit down and I'd replay the whole game and I'd watch it. And if they lost, I wouldn't watch it. I couldn't handle it. Huh? Part-time, yeah, I know. I'm a fickle fan. But knowing the end made everything different. So, I'm going to give you the end of today's story first, so that we can enjoy the whole story. So we're going to start at verse 25. We're in chapter 6, and we're talking about Daniel. As you know, Daniel in the lion's den is the famous story. Daniel, now, to give you a little bit of a backstory, was carried off as a slave from Jerusalem after being besieged by Babylon, somewhere around 600 BC-ish. 605, some say. Young boy, 8 to 12 years old probably, maybe in that range, along with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and others from north. So his story starts by his family getting killed, his home getting burned, besieged, his hometown ruined, and him carried off to a foreign land as a slave. That's just everything lost at the age of these guys over here. And then put into the palace, and then trials and tribulations. He went through several kings and governors. He lived through all that. By the time we get to King Darius the Mede, around 538 or 39 BC, Daniel is now 80 couple years old. None of our baby or children's stories show an 82-year-old man, and then it's always a young guy. And how many 80-year-olds we got in here? Couple? That's the age. So Daniel had, as we're going to see in the scripture, lived through takeovers, empires coming and going, kings coming and going. And at every turn, at every leadership turn, Daniel was challenged. And God was glorified. None of the kings were Jewish kings or Yahweh-worshiping kings. But Daniel was always there to bring God to the top and give God glory and save the people. At the end of Daniel's reign, Cyrus the Great took over, This is the end of the Babylonian Empire and the beginning of the Medo-Persian Empire. You guys, it's all starting to click now, right? Because you know your history. And the Medo-Persian Empire was a little different. But basically, you know what we're talking about? We're talking about Iran and Iraq. We're talking about evil kings in charge of Iran and Iraq. And the world has been fighting against Iran and Iraq. Or I should rather say the leaders of Iran have been fighting against the world ever since. And military exercises and coups and so many attempts to take that land back for God has happened with no success. But in Daniel's day, God did it through one man over and over again. At the end of Daniel's life during the reign of Cyrus the Great, that's when he decides, I'll let Ezra go back. I'll let Zerubbabel go back and start to rebuild Jerusalem. I'll let Ezra go back to start rebuilding the temple, bring back law. I'll send Nehemiah back so that he can build the wall. Jerusalem, the freedom, the political or the religious tolerance or acceptance that the God of Daniel was okay was because of Daniel's testimony through these leaders. It all fits in. And 500 years later, when God sends the Magi from the east, they have been trained and learned from the scrolls that they found in the annals of the Persian kings that says Daniel, the king of the Jews, taught that one day a star would come to show a Messiah, the king of the world would come. It all fits into this grand story. You know the end. The angels declared, for unto you a child is born. It starts way back here. So let's jump. You still with me? Let's jump. Chapter 6. We're going to jump to the end of Daniel and the lion's den story. Almost to the end. And this is how it ends. Then King Darius wrote, to all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth. Now, the Persian Empire was not all the earth, but in their minds, that was it. He was the king of the earth, and Cyrus was the king. They thought that was it. But it did stretch all the way almost to the Far East, Middle East, all the way down to Egypt, which the pharaohs would take over, all the way to Mediterranean Sea and Greece, and north to Iraq and to Turkey. It was all under his control. So he declares, the king of Persia, not a nice guy, the king of Persia says, let all the people of all the nations and all the languages that dwell on the earth, peace be multiplied to you, and I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, men must tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. The foreign, pagan, bloodthirsty king of a bad place, of bad people, says, I declare to everyone in my kingdom, everywhere on the earth, the God of Daniel should be feared and should be trembled before. He is the God over all gods. How do you get to that? It wasn't by military takeover. It wasn't by bombs. It wasn't by anything. Well, I'll tell you because I don't want to spoil it. I'll tell you how it happens in a minute. For he is the living God and steadfast forever. His kingdom, God, Yahweh, is the one which shall not be destroyed. His dominion shall endure to the end. Man, what a statement. What if the king of Iran today would come out and say that? Same place, same evil, same anti-Yahweh society. And we need the same results. That's what we're praying for, isn't it? So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. This one Daniel. That's the end of the story. That's the good news part of the story. That's the praise God part of the story. That's what God does, because he is greater. He is the king of the universe. He is not one of many gods. He is the God. And his way will prevail. He will be glorified. His kingdom will endure forever. He is the one in charge and in control. It's just he doesn't get there the way we want him to. And he doesn't get there without violence, bloodshed, sacrifice, and many innocent lives being caught up in the midst of it. We skip that part in the children's story. But now that we're grown up, we're going to look at it today. So let's go back to 6:1. This is where it starts. So back in chapter 5 and 4 and 3, talked about this is Daniel's life. The chapter before, part of Daniel's life, was Belshazzar, who was the king, the last Babylonian king, and he was the one that saw the writing on the wall. Remember that story? We might get to that one of these days. And it said, we claim it all the time, and his life was taken because he saw the writing on the wall. Daniel was the one who prophesied and interpreted the dream for that king. And then he was, just like Daniel prophesied, conquered. Persia, Medo-Persian Empire comes in, conquers Babylon and Babylonia. Leaves Babylon as the chief city, doesn't destroy it, just takes it over, steps into the control. And then Darius and King Cyrus step into control of the new empire. And Darius, it has pleased him to set over the kingdom 120 satraps, regional directors, governors. This is his government. And over these, 3 governors, 3 over the 120 over the whole empire, divided up. And out of the 3, Daniel was one, that the satraps might give an account to them so that the king would suffer no loss. 80-some years old, Daniel's reputation through several empires and kingdoms. Daniel was still sitting in a place of prominence, respect, wisdom. Daniel, as it turns out, we don't give him much credit, probably one of the most brilliant men alive at the time. Wise beyond measure. On top of having the Holy Spirit part of his life and God he was a Joseph of his day. He could organize, he could control. There was no corruption, there was no deceit. He worked diligently, he made things happen, he made his bosses famous. He was as faithful and brilliant as they come. Now he's 80-something, and the new king comes in. Daniel's been a leader. He's heard all the stories, and he puts Daniel as one of the governors over his empire. And because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king gave thought to setting him over the whole realm. But someone leaked an email. Somehow or another, he was in his office. There's a few people around, and he says, that Daniel, I've read some of the stories of him. I've seen this, and I met him. It's brilliant. I might just set him over everything. Someone sneaks out the door, writes a memo, sends it out. So the governors and the satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find no charge or fault because he was faithful, nor was there any error or fault found in him. If we as humans would only, what would have been good if I'm a new governor and I'm stepping in here, I'm one of the 3 or I'm one of the 120. I'm promoted to that place. That's a great. And Daniel, Daniel, everybody knows Daniel. He's been famous for 7 decades. He's changed the face of the whole Middle East. He's brilliant. I get the chance to learn under Daniel while he's still alive. Oh, I'm going to be one of the governors. Daniel's going to be my boss. I get to learn from him. What a great opportunity. That's the way it should have played out. But you know people, not you guys, but other people, you know how they are. Jealousy, pride. He's not going to be my boss. I can't believe they're going to make him king and not me king. It happens in the business world. It happens in the church world. It happens in the government. We just can't be happy for someone else. We can't see good and then fall in line and learn and grow and change because of it. We got to do what we can to undermine it. I've experienced in the corporate world in my life, experienced in the church world in my life. You have too. Why? Why are we like that? If we learn anything from Daniel, we learn that things don't change. If you're good, someone wants to take you down. It's happening every time you turn on the news. It happens everywhere you go. Rumor is Daniel's going to be, and they said, or they got together. He needs to go. We need to take him down. We need to get him out of there. What can we do? All right, let's hack his phone and let's find all his text messages for the last 50 years. We did that. There's nothing there. Let's find all the records. Let's talk to his family. Let's talk to his neighbors. Let's find something against him. We did that. There's nothing there. The dude is perfect. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's kept every promise he's made. He's been faithful. I mean, there's just no dirt on this guy. What are we going to do? He's got to go. Well, the only thing we can find against him is that he has a different God. And everybody knows it because there's laws in the books. There's rules being made. There's decrees over the last 7 decades about this God of his. And he will not abandon his God. We know that for sure. And his God is not our God. If we're going to find anything wrong, if we're going to take him down, it has to deal with his God. That's our only option. Folks, that's coming to our door as well. You can be good, you can be righteous, you can be faithful, you can follow the law, you can keep everything straight. But there is an evil that is against us just because we follow Christ. 50 years ago, I'd have said it's not coming to America. 5 days ago, I'd say, yes, it is, it's here. And we find all kinds of records are coming out in the news that Christians have been targeted just because they label right wing. But when it boils down, we find out, no, they're Christians. They want to serve God instead of the government or the state or wokeness or political correctness or whatever it is. They've made decisions about their life based on their relationship with God rather than the world, and that's got to go. And it's coming to us. It's coming to our door. Maybe not in our lifetime, but in their lifetime. If we don't graduate from the Vacation Bible School story and teach our kids that God is serious and bad things are coming and you will be tested, will they be ready? Are you ready? Daniel didn't get to this place in faith by just reading a book and saying, oh, I believe this, I'm going to do it. It was a lifetime of faithful trust. Faithful trust. These men, they said, we shall not find any charge against Daniel unless we find it against him concerning the law of his God. So these governors and satraps thronged before the king. Was that a word? Thronged? Get that image out of your mind. They're not all in thongs. This is a throng. So they come before the king. So this took time. They're all over the place. This empire is huge, and they're governors over different regions. They all got together. So this is plotting and scheming and camel riding over dunes to get together in secret places and in secret tents to plan So it's just not, hey, let's try to get him. This is an all-out coup against Daniel because he was such a threat. And they said to King Darius, live forever. Have we got an idea for you? So all the governors of the kingdom, administrators and satraps, the counselors and the advisors, I mean, they got everybody in on this. Because they're smooth talkers. They're deceitful. They're snaky. They're smarmy. Slimy. They smile. Oh, you're so good. We love you so much. You should. And they said, we've got an idea that to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days, except for you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Look, king, you're new to this. You're new here. You're our new king, taking over this great. You are great. We got an idea. Everybody believes. Everybody thinks this. It's a great idea. Why don't you make a decree and establish once and for all that you are God for everybody? Don't let them worship any other gods but you. Don't let them pray to, bow down to anybody but you for a full month. That way we will establish among all your people in all the regions, you're number one. You're him. You're the big guy. You are going to be on top. And it takes a pretty humble spirit to reject the idea of the whole country wanting to make you king. Make you God. King Darius is not a horrible man, but he can't refuse. Hey, that sounds good to me. If you want to, look, I didn't ask for this, but if you want to make me divine in front of everybody's eyes, I guess I'll allow it. And then he says, establish a decree and sign the writings that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians. The Medes and the Persians ruled a little differently than Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians. Kings of Babylon, they were it. It stopped with them. If they said this is the law, it was the law. If they changed their mind the next day and said it's no longer the law, it was no longer the law. They had final word over life and limb and everything, property. The Persian and the Mede Empire came in, and there was a little more democracy. There were extra rulers and governors, and there was no one above the law. So once it was signed into law, it was law, whether you're king or not. So they tricked him to writing this edict into law, and according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter. Therefore, King Darius signed the written decree. There it is written, there it is done. No one can change it, not even the king. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went home. And in his upper room, with the windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times that day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days. Daniel never stopped praying to God. We read it way back in Meshach. We read it all through his life. Daniel prayed and worshiped God. In fact, by the time he's 82, Daniel and God were pretty tight. They walked together. Daniel knew God. He knew the law. And he knew, without a shadow of a doubt, God always was for him and not against him. He didn't learn that by reading it. He learned it by living it. He learned it by living it. And you can't start at the end of the game to saying, you know what, I'm going to do this now. You work your way to that victory. You work your way to that kind of faith. Oh, I wish I had the kind of faith of Daniel. No, you don't. You get that kind of faith by being ostracized, put into prison, life threatened, fiery furnaces, lion's den experiences. That's how you get to that kind of faith. These men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. And they did a 30-day thing, probably because with the travel they had to do and getting together and then getting back, Daniel went home to Babylon, to his house. it took 30 days for all this to transpire. But they caught him. They got eyewitnesses, and they went before the king and spoke concerning the king's decree. Have you not, so this is a couple weeks later probably, maybe even towards the end of the month, have you not signed a decree? Oh, yes, I have signed a decree. O king, shall be, and anyone who doesn't shall be cast into the den of lions, which is a kind of a weird thing. But they kept lions as pets. It was a symbol of royalty. So they had pits and lion pits, and then use them for games. They'd use them for entertainment. They'd use them for whatever. And the king answered and said, yes, what you say is true according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter. So they answered and said before the king, that Daniel, who is one of the captives from Judah, 80 years later, he's still identified as that slave from Judah. No matter how many kings he's impressed, no matter how high he's risen in rank and in leadership, his identity, they tie him back to that slave from Judah. That's his identity. The devil keeps throwing our old self back at us all the time. Yeah, but I'm changed. I've quit those habits. I've changed my attitudes. I pray. I'm faithful. I don't lie and cheat anymore. I don't do these things anymore. And the devil says, yeah, but you're still that kid. You're still that girl that did those things. You're still that boy that did those things. Don't believe the lies of the devil. Our identity is in God and God alone. And he gives us new life, new hope, new name, new heart, new hope. That Daniel, who is one of the captives, does not show due regard for you, O king, or for the decree that you have signed, but he makes his petition 3 times a day. And the king, when he heard these words, was greatly displeased with himself. He realizes, I was duped. Now I see the purpose behind all of this. You used me. You tricked me. You deceived me. And I fell for it. My pride, I fell for it. And he set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. He's looking for a loophole in the law. Some way to get out of this. Some way to make it. Just like Pilate said, I don't see anything wrong with this man. You punish him. I can't find any fault in him. I don't want to do this. Why are you making me do this? Well, your law says this and your law says that. And Herod got caught up in it, same as Darius. The enemies of God don't stop. This isn't just old time stories. This is the way the devil operates now. One of the things we're learning in our studies is this, and we learned it in Watchman Nee's study too, is a discerning spirit. God gives to us the Holy Spirit in order to discern what is of him and what isn't. And as believers, we need to be wary and wise, eyes open to know what is of God, what spirit. John says, test every spirit. Because they're not, everything that looks shiny and is dressed nice and smiles is for your good. Then these men approached the king and said to the king, know, O king, that it is the law of the Medes and Persians, no decree and statute which the king establishes may be changed. He was trying to change it, and they called him out on it. So the king gave the command, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. But the king spoke to Daniel, your God whom you serve continually, you should underline that, serve continually, he will deliver you. Then a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the signets of his lords, that the purpose concerning Daniel might not be changed. Now the king went to his palace and spent the night fasting. No musicians were brought before him. Also his sleep went from him. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried out with a lamenting voice to Daniel. And the king said, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions. I'd love a dramatic pause. The wait, the silence. You know, if this was a movie, and then you would have this little bit of music, and then all the music would stop. And then out of nowhere, "O King, live forever," Daniel shouts. "My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths so that they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him. And also, O King, I have done no wrong before you." Now the king was exceedingly glad, commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, 82 years old, lifted up with ropes out of the pit where the lions were. I mean, that enough would hurt, but they bring him out, lift him out. So Daniel was taken up out of the den. No injury whatsoever was found on him, because he had believed in his God. And the king gave the command. So that should be the end of the good story. And let's just skip 24 to 20, verse 24, because we skip it in all of our stories. We go straight from God built an ark to Noah is saved and a rainbow. We skip the destruction and the death. But we can't today because we're grown-ups. Amen? And the king gave the command, and they brought those men who had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions. And everybody cheers because the bad guys got what was due to them, and it's a happy ending. But we read on. And their children, and their wives, and their children, and their wives. The innocent get caught up in the ways of the evil one, because the evil one cares not for us or the innocent. I doubt these wives were in on the conspiracy, probably had no idea. Certainly the children were not a part of that. I read the other day that the rulers of Iran were putting women and children in front of key targets so that the Allied people would not bomb them, putting the innocent out there. The innocent will always get caught up in the battle between good and evil. And their wives, and the lions overpowered them and broke all of their bones in pieces before they ever came to the bottom of the den. Then King Darius wrote. The King Darius is not a super nice guy. He's the king of a pagan empire who worshiped pagan gods, bloodthirsty ruler of a bad place. But because of one man, that guy declared the God of Daniel is the true God. And no one in all of my land will ever talk bad about that God again. No one will ever put any other God ahead of him. They should tremble and fear the God of Daniel from now on. See, God gets his way. He uses bad guys or good guys. Right now, I wish I would be an advisor to the Lord. That was a joke. But all God needs is one Daniel to take back his kingdom. How much military power, how many missiles, how many battleships is it going to take to get the Iranian leadership to bow before the Yahweh, God of the world? History tells us it just took one faithful man who served God continually. and was willing to put his life on the line for his faith. Maybe our prayer should be, God, raise up a Daniel in the Middle East right now. Raise up a Daniel in the Middle East and put this war to bed. Stop it before more innocent are killed. Is there a Daniel in our generation? And before the fight comes to our shores, will there be a Daniel in our land?